Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Hare Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare Ram
Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna
Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Ram Hare Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram
Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare
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 Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram, Ram Ram,
Krishna
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna, Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna
Hare Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna
Ram Ram,
Krishna
Hare Hare,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Ram
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Ram 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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Hare
Hare Ram,
Krishna
Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram, Ram
Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Hare
Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna
Ram
Hare Hare
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna,
Hare
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 Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
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 Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
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 Hare
Ram Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Hare.
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram
Ram
Ram, Hare
Ram
Hare,
Ram Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare Hare, Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare
Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare Ram,
Krishna
Ram Ram,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Ram
Hare Ram,
Ram 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 Hare Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram, Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
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 Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Hare
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 Ram Ram Ram, Hare
Ram
Hare, Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare Krishna
Hare Ram, Hare
Krishna
Ram, Ram Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna,
Hare
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 Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Ram
Krishna, Hare
Ram
Hare,
Ram
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 Hare
Ram,
Hare
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 Hare,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Hare
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 Ram, Hare
Ram
Ram, Ram
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare,
Hare
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 Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
Ram
Hare, Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram
Hare,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram Hare
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 Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Ram Hare
Ram
Hare, Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram Ram
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Krishna
Ram, Ram
Krishna
Ram,
Hare
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 Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare Hare Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna
Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
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 Ram,
Ram Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare Ram,
Ram
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 Hare
Ram
Hare,
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram, Hare
Ram
Hare, Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Ram,
Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare
Krishna
Ram, Hare Ram,
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram, Hare
Hare
Hare, Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna
Ram, Ram
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Hare
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 Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Ram
Krishna Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare.
Ram Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Hare
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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
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 Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare,
Krishna
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Hare
Ram Ram,
Hare
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 Hare,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Ram 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 Ram
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare
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 Ram, Ram
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram Hare
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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare,
Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
Ram
Hare, Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna
Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare
Krishna Krishna
Hare Ram
Hare
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 Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Ram
Hare Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Ram 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 Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare Ram 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 Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare 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 Krishna
Ram
Hare Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
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 Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
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 Hare
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 Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare
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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Ram
Hare Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare 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 Krishna
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 Hare Hare Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare
Hare Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare 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 Ram
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram Hare Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare Hare Krishna Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Hare Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Ram
Hare Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Ram 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 Ram
Hare
Hare
Ram Hare
Hare
Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
Hare Hare
Hare Hare Krishna Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Ram 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 Hare Hare Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare Ram Ram
Ram
Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram Hare Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Hare
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 Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna
Jai
Krishna
Shri
Hare
Krishna Chaitanya
Hare Ram Hare
Prabhu
Ram 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 Hare
Nityananda
Hare
Shri
Hare
Advaita
Krishna Hare
Giridhara
Krishna Krishna
Shivasadi
Krishna
Gaura Bhakta
Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare Hare
Krishna
Hare Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Ram 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 Ram
Hare
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 Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare
Hare Krishna
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare Hare
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
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 Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Krishna 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 Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna Hare Hare Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Ram 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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Ram
Ram
Hare Ram
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 Hare
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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare
Krishna
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 Hare 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 Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare Ram
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare Ram
Hare Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram
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 Hare
Ram
Hare
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 Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare 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 Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram, Ram
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare,
Hare
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 Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare, Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Hare,
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Rama,
Krishna
Hare Rama,
Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna
Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna
Hare, Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna, Krishna Hare,
Ram 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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare Rama,
Hare
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Krishna
Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram
Hare, Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna
Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna 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 Hare
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 Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare Hare
Krishna
Hare Krishna
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 Hare Ram
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna Hare
Ram 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 Hare Hare Hare
Krishna
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 Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare Ram Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
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 Krishna Krishna
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Ram
Hare Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Ram Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram
Ram Ram Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Hare
Ram
Hare Ram
Ram Ram Ram Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Krishna Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare
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 Ram
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram 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 Hare
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 Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare Ram
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna Hare
Hare
Hare Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna
Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Ram
Ram Ram Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram 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 Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare
Jai Shri Krishna
Hare Ram
Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Hare
Shri
Krishna
Advaita Gadadhar
Krishna Hare
Shivasadi Gaura
Hare
Bhakta
Ram
Vrinda
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare 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 Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna
Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram
Hare Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare
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 Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare
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 Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
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 Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram Ram Ram
Hare
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 Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare Hare Ram
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
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 Hare
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna
Hare Krishna
Krishna
Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram
Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare Hare Hare
Ram
Krishna Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Ram
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 Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram
Ram Ram Ram
Hare
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 Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
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 Hare Krishna
Hare Hare Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Hare
Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna
Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare Hare Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
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 Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna Krishna Hare
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 Krishna
Ram
Hare Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare
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 Hare Ram Ram
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
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 Ram Ram
Ram
Hare
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 Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare
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 Ram Ram
Ram
Ram Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna
Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare
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 Ram
Ram
Ram Ram
Ram
Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
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 Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram 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 Hare Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare Krishna
Hare Ram Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram Hare Hare
Ram Ram
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Krishna
Ram 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 Ram
Hare
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna
Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram
Hare Ram
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 Hare Hare
Hare Hare Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Chaitanya
Ram Hare
Prabhu
Hare Hare
Nityananda
Krishna
Shri
Hare
Advaita
Krishna
Gadadhara Srivasadi
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
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 Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
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 Hare
Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare
Hare Ram
Hare
Ram 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 Hare
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 Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare Hare
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram
Ram Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Krishna
Ram 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 Hare
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 Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
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 Krishna Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
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 Hare
Ram
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 Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare Hare Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
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 Hare Krishna Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram 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 Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram 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 Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram Hare Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram Hare
Ram
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 Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram Ram
Hare
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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna
Krishna
Hare Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna
Hare Hare Ram 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 Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Hare,
Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare. Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare,
Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna,
Ram Ram Ram, Hare
Hare
Hare. Hare Krishna,
Ram,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Hare,
Ram 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 Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Ram 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 Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Ram
Hare Hare.
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Ram, Hare
Hare Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Ram 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 Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Hare Hare, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Ram
Hare Hare.
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna
Hare Ram,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Ram,
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Ram,
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Hare.
Ram, Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram 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 Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna
Hare Krishna,
Chaitanya
Hare Krishna,
Prabhu
Hare
Nityananda Shri
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Gadadhar
Hare Hare, Hare
Sivasadi
Ram, Hare
Gaura
Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare Ram, Hare Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Ram
Ram, Hare
Ram
Hare,
Ram
Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare
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 Krishna,
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 Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Hare Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Ram,
Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Krishna, Hare
Ram,
Hare, Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare,
Hare
Ram
Ram
Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Hare Hare, Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
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 Hare
Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare,
Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare, Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
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 Hare,
Hare,
Ram,
Ram Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Hare Hare,
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
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 Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Ram,
Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
Hare
Hare, Hare
Hare,
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Ram
Krishna
Ram, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna
Ram
Krishna,
Ram,
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram Ram,
Hare
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Ram Ram,
Ram
Ram, Hare
Ram
Hare,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna
Hare Ram,
Krishna,
Ram Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare, Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare, Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram
Hare Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Ram Hare Hare,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna
Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Ram, Hare
Ram
Ram, Ram Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare,
Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare
Ram
Krishna, Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram,
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna,
Ram, Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Ram, Ram
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna, Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram,
Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Ram 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 Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare, Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Ram,
Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare Hare,
Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare
Ram
Krishna, Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare Ram,
Krishna,
Hare Ram, Ram
Krishna
Hare Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram 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 Hare
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 Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram,
Krishna
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
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 Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram, Ram,
Ram 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 Hare
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 Ram,
Hare
Hare Ram,
Krishna
Ram Ram,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Krishna
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna, Hare
Ram
Hare,
Ram
Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram Ram, Ram Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare
Hare Ram,
Krishna
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram, Ram
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
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 Krishna, Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram
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 Hare
Ram
Hare,
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
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 Krishna,
Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare, Hare Ram,
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram
Hare,
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna
Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Hare
Hare Ram,
Krishna
Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare 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 Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Hare
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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Ram
Krishna,
Ram Ram
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna,
Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Ram,
Ram Ram Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
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 Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Ram,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Ram
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna Krishna
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna Hare
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 Ram
Ram Ram
Ram Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna Hare Hare
Ram
Ram
Ram,
Hare Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare Krishna
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Ram
Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Ram
Hare Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram, Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram
Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Ram
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram, Hare Ram,
Shri Krishna
Krishna
Shri
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna
Ram
Shri
Ram Ram
Advaita
Ram Hare Hare
Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram
Hare Ram
Ram
Hare Ram
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 Hare
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 Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Ram
Ram,
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
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 Hare Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Hare Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Ram,
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram, Ram
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram Hare
Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
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 Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram Ram Ram Hare
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 Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna
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 Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna,
Krishna
Hare Ram Hare Ram Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna,
Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
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 Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare Hare Krishna
Hare Ram
Hare
Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Krishna
Hare Krishna
Krishna
Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram 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 Hare
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 Ram Hare Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna
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 Hare
Ram,
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Ram
Hare Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram
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 Hare
Ram
Hare
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 Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare Ram Hare Ram
Ram,
Ram
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 Ram Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
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 Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
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 Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare
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 Ram,
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Ram,
Hare Hare
Ram
Ram,
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare Hare,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
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 Krishna Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram Ram Ram
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
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 Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
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 Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Ram,
Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna Hare
Ram,
Krishna
Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
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 Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna
Ram,
Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Ram,
Hare
Ram Ram, Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare Hare
Ram Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram
Hare Hare
Ram Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Krishna Hare
Krishna Hare Hare
Ram Hare
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 Krishna,
Ram
Krishna Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
Hare
Hare Hare Krishna Hare
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 Krishna
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna Hare
Ram Ram Ram
Ram
Hare Hare Jai
Ram
Shri
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare Hare
Chaitanya
Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna Hare
Nityananda Shri
Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare
Krishna,
Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare
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 Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare Ram Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Hare Krishna everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Would anybody like to share anything?
Yes, Prabhuji. I have a bhajan pastime. So I posted. Yeah, I'll just read the translation. Okay. Oh Lord Hari. So this is Prarthana series. Narottam Das Thakur Daine Bodhika Song 4. O Lord Hari, O Lord Hari, please give me shelter at your feet. 6 men headed by lust and anger take me here and there and force me to enjoy my senses in many ways. Filled with material desires, a servant of material illusion, and my memory of you fled far away, disguised as a Vaishnav, I wandered from house to house hoping to get some money. When I suffered many miseries, you tied your rope of mercy around my neck and dragged me to Vraj. The illusory energy then forcibly untied those ropes and again threw me into the well of material existence. If, grasping his hair, you mercifully pull this person from illusion's well and place him in the abode of Vraj, he will see that as his great good fortune. Otherwise his life will end. Poor and fallen Narottam Das sings this song. So our acharyas like Narottam Das, they are so pure and they are from the spiritual world, but they feel like they are the most fallen. And then he's saying that I'm filled with material desires. I'm a servant of my senses, and I'm just showing myself as a Vaishnava. I'm disguised as a Vaishnava. And then, yeah, you pulled me to Vraj by tying a rope around my neck, but I again fell down. So you should grasp me by my hair and pull me to Vraj. So like there's a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita which says that सई भक्ता धन्य ये ना छाड़े प्रभुरा चरण सई प्रभु धन्य ये ना छाड़े निज जन दुर्देव सेवका यदि याय अन्य स्थाने से ठाकुर धन्य तारे चुले धरियाने. Glorious is that devotee who does not give up the shelter of his Lord, and glorious is that Lord who does not abandon his servant. If by chance a servant falls down and goes somewhere else, glorious is that master who captures him and brings him back by the hair. So that's what Narottam Das Thakur is saying, that you are a glorious master. You pull me by my hair again back to Vraj. Otherwise, my life is wasted. Kal Krishna Das, I think he when he got distracted by the Bhattahari tribes, he got illusioned and he went after them, being attracted by the woman in the tribe. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and he pulled him by the hair and brought him back. So that's what Narottam Das is saying. Prabhuji, you want to add any comments to this song?
No, it's just like we say, bachao, bachao, right? When somebody is causing harm to us, or some burglar has save me, help, help, like that. So we have to shout like that to Krishna, help, help, because I'm being pulled by lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, and pride. So these are the bandits that have, they are trying to kidnap me and force me into some dangerous situation. So to This is the mood in which Hare Krishna we should chant. Yeah, thank you. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So today's pastime. One day in Kokilavan, which is situated north of the village of Yavat, Krishna called Radharani's name by playing on his flute. This sound had a special quality that no one except Radharani could hear. When Radharani heard Krishna calling her thus, immediately she became very enthusiastic to go to Kokilavan to meet with Krishna. Unfortunately, her mother-in-law Jatila was sitting at the door of the house. Radharani could not leave the house, and thus she felt deprived of Krishna's association. Krishna was waiting along with Subal at a kunja in Kokila. So Subal is the younger brother of Chandravali and son of Chandrabhanu. And Subal's face resembles just like Srimati Radharani. So Krishna was waiting with Subal in a kunja at Kokila. He was extremely eager to see Radharani, and from time to time he would leave the kunja and look in all directions to see if Radharani was approaching. Returning to the kunja, he would wait for some time, then again he would leave the kunja and look for Radha. So much time passed and still Shri Radha did not arrive. When Krishna saw there was no hope for Radharani to come to him, he became very impatient and loudly said, "Ha Radhe, Ha Radhe," and fainted to the ground. Subal held Krishna in his lap and wiping his tears, tried to pacify him. Subal said, "My dear friend, my heart is breaking to see you in this condition. Please tell me, how can I help you? What should I do now?" Krishna embraced Subal and caught hold of his hand. He told Subal, "My dear Subal, my dear friend Subal, if you have really understood my sorrowful situation, then you should go immediately to the house of Jatila and somehow or other bring Radharani here to meet me. I cannot survive without meeting with Radharani. I will wait here eagerly until you come back with Radharani." When Subal heard these words from his dear friend Krishna, he said to him, "As per your instruction, now I am going to Yavat. I will try my best to bring Radharani here to meet with you, but you must wait here with patience until I return. Please do not faint again. Now let me go." So as Subal was preparing to move, Krishna embraced him strongly and said, "Dear Subal, please go. Bring my most dear Radharani as soon as possible and save my life." Subal hurried towards Yavat and the house of Jatila. When he arrived, he was loitering outside the house of Jatila, looking here and there. Seeing Subal, Jatila called to him, "Oh Subal, why are you wandering around here today?" Subal offered his humble obeisances to Jatila and said, "My dear grandmother, I have lost one of my calves, and her mother is crying for her. I asked so many people if they had seen her, and one person told me they had a calf wandering on this side of Raj near your house." Jatila felt very compassionate towards Subal, and prompted by Yogamaya, she said, "Yes, it is so. But Subal, your face is so red from wandering in this heat. Please go into the cool house. There you will see the assistant of my daughter-in-law. She will give you water and you please rest for a while. Then after some time you can go searching for your calf." Subal was very happy to hear this from Jatila and immediately entered the house. He went straight to Sri Radha's rooms and found her sitting on the floor with her head in her hands, crying. Lalita and other Sakhis were pacifying her. When Srimati Radharani saw him, she said, "Oh Subal, from where have you come? Have you seen Lord of my life?" Subal said, "Krishna, and I have been waiting in Kokilavan for you. Since you did not arrive, my friend Krishna became very worried for you. In separation from you, he is crying while uttering Ha Radhe, Ha Radhe, and fainting again and again. Why did you not go to meet with Krishna? He has sent me here to bring you to him. He is waiting eagerly for you. Come." Radharani said, "Subal, just see how my mother-in-law Jatila is sitting there at the door with a stick in her hand. In this situation, how can I go out of the house and disobey my seniors? Although my mother-in-law is not able to see perfectly, and I could very easily escape her. Still, my sister-in-law Kutila is very tough with me. She is crooked by nature and always eagerly waiting to find some fault with me. Radharani looked at Subal with tears in her eyes. My Lord Krishna must be waiting in Kokilavan and suffering in separation from me. I know it very well, but what can I do? I am helpless. I cannot go out of my house to help my Lord, who is lying in a faint on the ground. You cannot understand how painful it is for me to hear from you that my Lord is suffering in this way. Please go back to the forest immediately and pacify him by explaining the reasons I have not been able to meet with him. Go quickly, do not delay here for a moment. Subal replied, Radhe, if I go back to Krishna without taking you with me, then Krishna will only suffer more and he will leave his body in separation from you. That is what he told me when I left him in the forest. In order to extinguish the fire of separation that burns within both of you, I have made a plan. Please listen carefully. Subal lowered his voice and spoke quietly to Srimati Radharani. I will dress you in my clothes. You will go out of the house right in front of Jatila, and still she won't recognize you. Then your Sakhis will decorate me with your dress, and I will stay here in the house. Radharani clapped her hands in delight and said, Subal, thank you so much for your nice idea. I'm very happy to hear this. Her brow wrinkled as she thought, and she added, But there is a problem with this. I can wear your clothes, but my hair is so long and my breasts are raised high. How can I hide this? Please give me some idea. If Jatila recognizes me, then pass by when I pass by her, then I will be in great danger. She will never allow me out of the house again, and I will never be able to meet with Krishna. Subal answered, Dear Radhika, do not be worried about this. I have already thought of a solution to your two problems. Please listen carefully. First, your Sakhis will pile your hair on top of your head and cover it with my turban. Second, when I was coming to your house, Jatila saw me and asked me why I was here. I told her that I was looking for my calf that had wandered from the herd. So I will give you one small calf. You hold it to your chest, thus disguising yourself further. Do not be worried that your mother-in-law will recognize you. I will dress you so perfectly that no one will recognize you as Radha. They will think you as Subal. When Radharani heard this plan from Subal, she was in ecstasy. When the plan was finalized, Lalita dressed Subal in the blue sari of Radharani and adorned his body with her ornaments. She put vermilion on his forehead. So now the Sakhis are decorating Subal as Srimati Radharani. They put vermilion on his forehead, black kajal around his eyes, and alta on his feet. Behind Subal's head, she put some artificial hair. She dressed him in a blue blouse and stuffed it with cloth to create artificial breasts. She put bunches of bangles on both of his arms. When the Sakhis saw Subal, whose features were identical to Srimati Radharani, they all started to laugh and clap their hands in delight. Then Lalita took the cloth of Subal and dressed Radharani. Then Subal piled Radharani's hair on top of her head and covered it with a turban. Radhika wiped the sindoor from her forehead, the kajal from her eyes, and the alta from her feet. Because Subal was the brother of Chandravali, his appearance and color was just like Radharani's. Now Radha was looking just like Subal. He gave Radha one small calf to hold, covering her breasts. Then, remembering the lotus feet of Krishna, Srimati Radharani slowly walked out of the house and through the main gate right past Jatila. When Jatila saw Radharani, she thought, Subal is going, and called out to him, Oh Subal, did you drink water? Did you find your calf? When Radharani heard this, she simply replied, and left the place. Then she proceeded towards Kokilavan in order to meet with Sri Krishna, the Lord of her life. In Kokilavan, Krishna was eagerly waiting for Subal to return with Radharani. But suddenly Krishna saw Subal walking alone without Radharani. Krishna thought, I sent Subal to bring my most dear Radharani with him, but he has returned unsuccessful. What has happened? Maybe her mother-in-law did not allow her to come out of the house. Maybe she is not able to come out due to some engagement or household activities. Maybe she has come across some other great obstacle. Thus, imagining different reasons for Radharani's non-appearance, Krishna became very worried. Thinking of all these things, he started towards Subal, eager to understand why Srimati Radha was not coming. Radharani, in the disguise of Subal, was looking at Krishna and floating in an ocean of ecstasy at the sight of him. But she did not reveal her own identity, eager to see Krishna's own eagerness for her. As she came close to Krishna, he said, "O Subal, you have come alone? Where is my Radharani, who's more dear to me than my life? Where have you hidden her? Why are you giving me more pain by not revealing where she is? What kind of enjoyment are you deriving by giving me so much pain? If you have hidden her somewhere, then kindly bring her here and save my life." While Krishna was speaking this way, Radharani came very close to him, and in the voice of Subal, she said to Krishna, "My friend, as you ordered, I went to Jatila's house on the pretext of searching for my lost calf. I saw Jatila, the old lady, was sitting at the gate holding a stick in her hand. I went inside the house with her permission, and there I saw Radharani crying, her head hanging down in misery. She was crying in separation from you, unable to leave the house. All the Sakhis, including Lalita, were counseling her. When Radharani saw me, she asked me where I had come from and whether I had seen you. I explained how you were suffering in separation from her. I told her that because she had not gone to the forest that day, that you had sent me to take her with me." Then she replied, "My mother-in-law is sitting at the doorstep. I will not be able to go out of the house." Then I came back without any success to inform you of these things. When Krishna heard this hopeless news from Subal, he said, "O Subal, you know all kinds of tricks. Whenever I send you to bring Radharani, you always manage to bring her to me. Never before have you failed. Why have you not succeeded this time? I cannot survive in this world without her. When I sent you to bring Radharani, I told you that I will leave my body from the pain of separation. Then please give her my peacock feather, flute, and gunjamala. So if I die, you give her my peacock feather, flute, and gunjamala." Then Krishna started to cry loudly, uttering the name of Radharani. "Oh Radhe, oh Radhe, oh most dear Radhe." When Radharani saw Krishna's desperation, she could not control herself any longer. She put the calf on the ground and removed the turban from her head. Immediately her hair fell loose and hung down her back. When Krishna saw that Subal was actually his beloved Srimati Radharani, he embraced her with affection and took her inside the kunja. After their loving exchanges, Radharani left for her house. By that time, Subal, who was still in the dress of Radharani, had come out of the house along with the Sakhis on the pretext of going to Yamuna to fetch the water. Srimati Radharani met her Sakhis and Subal at the Yamuna and changed out of Subal's clothes and into her own. Subal then went back to Krishna in the forest, and Radharani went back to her house, holding the water pot in her arms and accompanied by her Sakhis. So Radharani dressed as Subal. We have a picture of Radharani. Let me paste. Yeah, this is a picture of Radharani dressed as Subal. And I think in the Gopashtami, right, on the day of Gopashtami, we dress Radharani like this as Subal, as Gopa. And we can see the lotus feet of Radharani, which we are usually not able to see. Her lotus feet are covered. Only on the day of Gopashtami you can see it.
Correct. Thank you. Nice pastime. Anybody else like to share?
Yes, Prabhuji, I would like to share. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I wanted to share this from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Once Srila Sanatan Goswami asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that who am I? So in answer to that, Lord replied, "You are a pure living entity. You are a pure living entity. You are neither this gross material body nor the subtle body composed of mind and intelligence. Actually, you are a spirit soul, eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. Therefore, you are his eternal servant. You belong to Krishna's marginal potencies." So this is this verse. Jivera Swarupa Hai Krishnera Nitya Das Krishnera Tatashta Shakti Veda Veda Prakash. So like he says that spirit soul belongs to two worlds, the spiritual world and the material world also. So since we are situated in between the material spiritual potencies, you have a relationship with both the material and the spiritual world. Therefore, you, when I mentioned human spirit soul, are called marginal potency. You are related with Krishna as one and simultaneously different. Your identity of a spirit soul makes you one in quality with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but because you are a very minute particle of spirit soul, you are different from the Supreme Soul. Therefore, your position is simultaneously one with and different from the Supreme Soul. The examples given to understand this is of the sun and the blazing fire. So the sun, the sun itself is like the whole, but we are like the small particles of sunshine. Similarly, blazing fire is like the Supreme Soul, like whole, but the small particle of the fire represents the spirit soul. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Okay, Achintya Bheda Bhed. Yeah. It's a nice picture of Radharani. This is from which temple? Is it from some temple that you got this picture?
I got it from Google.
Google.
I'm not sure which temple. Maybe it's Vrindavan. No, okay. So we have this picture from Vrindavan. It's called Vrindavan. Here.
Okay. Radharani's feet are visible there.
Yeah, Radharani. So somewhere Radharani has her hands giving blessings, like the first picture. In ISKCON Vrindavan, it's like offering Krishna flowers or something.
Yeah. Okay, anything else anybody like to share?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to add something that we had read yesterday, and this is regarding Narottam Das Thakur. So essentially, Srila Prabhupada says in his one of the purports that we read yesterday, that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the statements of Narottam Das Thakur are as good as Vedic evidences. So, and he has also written a Sanskrit commentary on Guru Vandana that we sing every day. So it's just that even though Narottam Das Thakur has written in Bengali language, still his words are as good as Vedic evidences. So just wanted to share that. And that's why we often in ISKCON we sing songs from Narottam Das Thakur. And then another thing that we read yesterday in one of the purports that's very nice is, so in the beginning, Srila Prabhupada paraphrases this Kathopanishad verse, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. And then he says, thus one can obtain permanent peace and prosperity by revival of one's eternal relation with him, now forgotten under the spell of Maya, the illusory energy of the Lord. Once this relation is slightly revived, the conditioned soul at once becomes freed from the illusion of material energy and becomes mad after the association of the Lord. So that's kind of an interesting thing, that what we are actually striving for is a slight revival of our eternal relationship with the Lord. And that slight revival itself seems very, I mean, we all at some, we were discussing, we were three people on the call, Preeti Mataji and Shamakarna Mataji were also there. So we were actually discussing how each one of us feel about our progress on this path. And then at the end, we concluded that, yeah, I mean, we are, from where we started off, we have made some some changes have happened in our lives, and it may not be where we had envisioned ourselves to be, but we are slowly, step by step, every day we are building or strengthening our relationship.
Like this, little drops of water wear away the stone, right? Something. So little by little, little by little.
Yeah. Yesterday also Maharaj was saying that whatever bhakti bhajan we do, there would be a result of that in the future. Like, I mean, anything, nothing is lost. Even one holy name of Krishna that we chant is like our eternal wealth.
So our stone-like heart will slowly, as we chant, and here, service, then it'll slowly become softer. Like that. The steel-framed heart will become soft. So maybe it has become soft to some extent, but it will become even softer as we. Okay. And then Krishna
Don't
is
commit offenses.
if we don't commit offenses, yes. That also Krishna only has to protect us from offenses, like because our lust, anger, greed makes us commit the offenses, envy and pride, and we have to desire. I don't want to commit offenses. Krishna, please help, because we are against these anarthas. We are helpless. Devyesha gunamayi mam maya durataya. So, yeah, that's Krishna's mercy only. Can say we can desire, and of course we have to work. But, is that right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So
I was. Can I say something, bro?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not much, but yeah, I was thinking about the pastime that Mataji had just said. In that pastime, it is very wonderful and interesting that Radharani was like, because of her mother-in-law and sister-in-law, she couldn't able to meet Krishna, right? I mean, she is, and sometime we have seen that the Brajvasi's love is like that. They left everything behind to meet Krishna, the family members and everything. But here it displays like that Radharani has to, she can't go to meet Krishna. In fact, Krishna is playing flute and calling her, but still she won't meet him. And the other thing it's interesting that how the other, like the gopas, the friends and the gopis and sakhis are arranging that, how they can be arranging the situation and bring Radha and Krishna together, so closer to each other. So that's the beauty of the spiritual world, right? Everybody is playing the role to bring Radha Krishna together closer. And I mean, Radharani could do that, right? She can't think of anyone else if Krishna is calling, right? But they displayed the pastime like that.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, there's so many obstacles that come. So there is, in spiritual world, there is union and separation makes their love, increases their love. So as we were hearing yesterday, Maharaj was also saying that when Radha Krishna meet, every time they think that this is the first time we are meeting, because it's ever fresh. And after separation also, the ecstasy of meeting is so much like, Radharani was in ecstasy to see Krishna. So yeah, there is crying and then there is joyfulness. That's why in Hare Krishna mantra, it's also Hare Krishna mantra denotes union and separation. So that's Krishna is enjoying this pastime of separation also. right? When Radharani goes, so Krishna makes Radharani go into Man, where she will become angry and not wanting to see Krishna. And Krishna, as Maharaj was saying yesterday, Krishna is deriving enjoyment from that. So whatever pastimes happen, it's all orchestrated by Vrinda Devi for the pleasure of Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah. It's inconceivable how separation also is for the pleasure. So, ecstasy in separation, that's Vipralamba Bhav. So, yeah. Okay, so we'll read some verses. Anything else anybody like to say? So we are on 3:26:32. When egoism is in ignorance, when egoism in ignorance is agitated by the sex energy of the Supreme Personality of God, the subtle element sound is manifested. And from sound comes the ethereal sky and the sense of hearing. So from sound comes the sky, ethereal sky, and then there has to be a medium for sound to travel, and then it can be heard. So then the sense of hearing comes. Like in our physics, we used to do an experiment. There used to be a bell, right? And the bell is in a jar and it is sounding. And then there's a vacuum pump that is pulling out the air from the jar. And as the air is pulled out, then the sound also you can't hear. The sound of the bell is not heard. Right? There's some experiment like that. So for the sound there should be some medium, that is the ethereal sky, and then the sense of hearing, whether the sound can be heard. So it appears from this verse that all the objects of our sense gratification are the products of egoism in ignorance. Or when the ego is affected by the mode of ignorance, then we want to enjoy the objects of sense gratification. Or the objects of sense gratification are created for the enjoyment of the ego in ignorance. It is understood from this verse that by the agitation of the element of egoism in ignorance, the first thing produced was sound, which is the subtle form of ether. It is also stated in the Vedanta Sutra that the sound is the origin of all objects of material possession, and that by sound one can dissolve this material existence. So in the beginning, the whole creation started with sound. That's what Prabhupada is saying. And from sound, the more subtle elements come, and then from more subtle elements, more grosser elements come. And it is sound only that, we hear. Material sound creates desires, material desires in the heart. And those material desires then transform into actions by which so many objects are created. Like the skyscraper is built. And first it comes as some idea or desire which maybe somebody has put by sound. Somebody says something, let's create this, and like that. And then somebody hears that, and then. So sound is the origin of all objects of material possession, and by sound one can dissolve this material existence. Material sound is the cause of entanglement. Spiritual sound is the cause of liberation. So that's why we are not supposed to hear material sounds, but we are supposed to hear spiritual sounds to liberate the soul. If we hear material sounds, means all this worldly talk, then what will happen? Our association and entanglement in the material world will increase. And if we hear the spiritual sound, which is Bhagavatam, Hare Krishna mantra, then our desire to get out of this material will increase. or our attraction to Krishna will increase by spiritual sound, and then we'll get out of this material world. Anavriti Shabdat means, Avriti means covering, and Anavriti means uncovered. So our consciousness is now covered by all the contamination, that 6 enemies that in the song, lust, anger, greed. So we have to uncover our consciousness by Shabda, Cheto Darpana Marjana. That is the Hare Krishna mantra. Anavriti Shabdat. And scripture like that means liberation by sound. Big revolutions started when somebody gave a speech, like Hitler was giving so many speeches, and then they all became so convinced they started, invading other countries, and big revolutions started by sound, material revolutions. So if material sound has so much effect, right, politicians also get their votes and they come to power by giving speeches, but which is nothing but sound. And like we have the presidential debate and so many things, and people decide based on what they speak. So spiritual sound also, like Prabhupada sat in Tompkins Square Park and chanted Hare Krishna and gave Bhagavad Gita classes at 26 Second Avenue, and then so many people started coming, and the whole movement started from this sound by hearing. So that's why hearing has such great potency. So what we hear will affect our consciousness. The entire material manifestation began from sound. Like if we hear something about some person, right? Oh, this person is like this and this person is like that. Then whenever we see that person, we have that perception about that person. Maybe good or bad, whatever it is. Because we heard. So our consciousness also gets defined by, the sounds we hear. And then we look at everything in a certain perspective. So the entire material manifestation began from sound. And sound can also end material entanglement if it has a particular potency. The particulars, yeah.
How is that the material manifestation began from sound?
So this will show how from sound came ether. I don't know exactly how it happens, but then from ether I think it will come. There's some other place also it is described how from ether more grosser elements come, and then
Isn't that the first sound is Om that was heard or captured? That is the first sound from energy to sound conversion. That's why Om is so considered very, very spiritual.
In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has said that I'm the sound in the ether. And I think in the beginning of the scriptures also said that in the beginning of the creation, Brahma also heard the sound, like, right, tapa, tapa. And then with the sound, I think I read somewhere like God has created the sound first, and with the sound, he created space. And then rest of the creation process continued.
correct.
Because the Brahman, the sound manifestation of the Brahman, right? Om.
Yeah, we can see if there is something, how sound is the...
Sound is the result of the vibration of space. So it's the ethereal space. Sound is nothing, it says vibration of the ethereal space.
So here,
the black hole, the sound scientists capture, but black hole is not making sound. It is a vibration of the space. That is vibrating. As a result, a wave is in the sound wavelength is being created, and that is propagating through space.
it is said that the first Tanmantra, subtle sound is created, and then the sky, and in this verse it is confirmed. This is another verse, 2.5.25, that actually it is so, but sound is subtle form of the sky. And the distinction is like that between the seer and the seen. The sound is the representation of the actual object. As the sound produced speaking of the object gives an idea of the description of the object. Like, yeah, right. So if I say car, then the sound car, then in your mind, your car, what is the shape of the car comes. So therefore sound is the subtle characteristic of the object. Similarly, sound representation of the Lord in terms of his characteristics is the complete. So ether, sky, we cannot see, we cannot touch, we cannot smell, but we can hear the sound. As soon as there is sound, that we know there is ether or sky, sound vibration. As we have got experience of this material sound, therefore the material sky, similarly there is spiritual sound and there is spiritual sky. We know that in the spiritual sky, in a corner, is this Mahat Tattva, which is 1/4 of the whole spiritual sky. In one corner is this material world. So, just like in one corner of the city there is a prison. Without sky there is no sound. So there is spiritual sky, we get information from Shastra. And that's why we say Golokera Prem than Harinam Sankirtan. Harinam Sankirtan is not material sound. Then Prabhupada goes into this. Okay, by sound we can change our consciousness. So if we come in contact with spiritual sound, then our consciousness will change. That's what Prabhupada is saying here. The entire material manifestation began from sound, and sound can also end material entanglement if it has particular potency. The particular sound capable of doing this is the transcendental vibration Hare Krishna. Our entanglement in material affairs has begun from material sound. So we heard so many things, and then we develop so many desires because of those hearing, and then like that. So now if we hear Bhagavatam from the sadhus, then our consciousness will want to change, and we will want to change our consciousness and get out. Now we must purify that sound in spiritual understanding. There is sound in the spiritual world also. If we approach that sound, then our spiritual life begins. And that sound is the Hare Krishna mantra, because that has come from the spiritual world. And the other requirements for spiritual advancement can be supplied. Like Prabhupada chanted Hare Krishna, and all other temples and everything, devotees came, and all requirements to propagate the sound started happening. We have to understand very clearly that sound is the beginning of the creation of all material objects for our sense gratification. So similarly, if sound is purified, our spiritual necessities are also produced from sound. And Prabhupada even said, if you chant Hare Krishna, there will be no dearth of anything. Even materially, there will be, if everybody starts chanting Hare Krishna, there will be ample supply of everything. Here it is said that from sound the ether became manifested, and that the air became manifested from ether. So sky and then air. Vayu. Bhumi apo analo vayu. Vayu is the air. How the kham is ether. Kham mano buddhi revacha. How the ethereal sky comes from sound, how the air comes from sky, and how fire comes from air will be explained later on. So air you can't see, but then fire comes which you can see. So more gross elements are being. Sound is the cause of sky, and the sky is the cause of Shrutram, the ear. So we have to just hear, chant and hear. That's why Prabhupada says this hearing Bhagavatam and then all the Leelas of Krishna. This will get us out from this material existence, material consciousness. That's why Prithu Maharaj says, I just want to hear from the mouth of your pure devotees. I don't want. There's a verse like that, right? Sauttama Shloka.
He said, I want millions of years.
And then he says, I want millions of years. And then, so you just want to go in the association of devotees and hear about from them. From the pure devotees, if we hear, then our consciousness will change. We'll give up our material desires.
So, Prabhuji, when you hear, that sound or Bhagavatam sound coming from reading of Bhagavatam, that connecting energy is entering into your system. That's why you were saying?
Yeah, it goes in from the one ear into the heart, and the heart, it changes your heart. The sound, like the Mahamantra and the Bhagavatam, like yesterday we were hearing, so it was nice. It gives us some desire, right, to become more sincere in our spiritual life and give up materialism. When we hear from persons who have no material desires, who are devoted to God fully, then that sound changes we also like, because we are also in our pure state, we are devotees of God, we are lovers of God. So when we hear from pure source like that, then we will also, that memory is revived, as Prithu Maharaj says, that our memory of our relationship with the Lord is revived, and whatever I've forgotten. So that's what happens.
Mrityam punarvismrita tattva vartamanam. Kuyoginam no vidirite alam vere.
Yes, thank you.
Like you was also saying, Maharaj, yesterday that sometimes we hear from one ear and it goes out of the other ear. So Amolila Prabhu says, ISKCON means is kaan se us kaan tak. No, but it should go down deep in our hearts. So then that's why Shravanam and then Mananam and Nididhasan. So what we have heard, we contemplate on it and reflect on it and we implement it in our life. Then it goes into our heart.
We should take it very seriously. That's yes, it goes in our heart. We should, when you are hearing seriously and you think this is the thing that is going to save me from all miseries, this sound vibration is going to save me. We are in a miserable situation. So, like for instance, you are in a plane, right? And the plane is 30,000 feet in the air. And there is turbulence and they are making some announcement. It is very important for you how eagerly you are hearing that announcement. Because they are going to announce something, what's going to happen to the plane, what's going to happen to you, like that. So when we have very seriously, we should, when we are in trouble, and we are in trouble in this material existence, and some sadhu is speaking about how you can become free from this, then we should be all ears. We should be, oh, yes, he's going to rescue me. This, whatever he's saying, this is going to rescue me. And this is my only chance, if I hear nicely. And so like that, if we take it very seriously and hear, then we'll be rescued from all the miserable situations. Ultimately, we want to become happy. But in this material world, there is birth, death, old age, disease. And we are in this cycle, suffering constantly. That's why when it is distress, you are hearing very intently. Like, or when there is an urgent situation, urgency, yes, I have to do something about this, like. So Parikshit Maharaj also, urgency. So he was absorbing every word Shukdev Goswami was speaking. When there is hunger, then there is, food can be appreciated. There is no hunger, then somebody gives you food you don't like. Yeah, it's bad. So you should have hunger that yes, I want to become properly situated in Krishna's service. I have goofed up many, many lifetimes. Now I don't want to goof up again. I want to just, this life, the remaining time I have, I want to just, so like that, we can hear with very great attention and chant like that, Krishna, please save me, please help. And it has to really come from the heart, we have to feel like that. Then I've got this golden opportunity. And, my mind is just nonsense. So whatever my mind is saying, I'm not going to listen. I'm just going to listen to the voice of the sadhus. Yes, like that. Sound is the cause of sky. And that's why false ego has to be less. Because if you want to hear somebody else's instruction and voice, then you have to keep your false ego aside. Otherwise, you can't hear anybody's instructions. Think you are great. So, so we have to see that there are so many great souls, and we have to somehow get in touch with them and serve them and hear from them and see how.
Yes, sometimes I was yesterday was thinking that there are so great rishis used to exist in Vedic Aryabrata, Vrigu Rishi, so great, Rishi Vashist. I wish I could see them and touch their feet and get blessings.
Yes, there were rishis in the past and there are rishis now in the present also. So
now I don't know how.
I mean, there are many saintly devotees. There are saintly. Rishi means a saintly.
Yeah, but they have to go to Himalaya or somewhere where those people they generally don't come to human contact, right?
No, but
They try
Prahlad
to.
Maharaj says he doesn't want to go to the forest. He wants to live in the places where
Yeah,
there's
Prahlad Maharaj.
right.
Bhrigu Rishi, I was reading his life. The Bhrigu Rishi was so great, so great, because one time I think it is related to Balaji's story. He kept his feet on the chest of Vishnu, and instead he first went to, there was something that needed these god three, Vishnu, Brahma and Maheshwar, and he first went to Brahma, and Brahma, he saw that so much calamities on earth going on, this Brahma is busy in his meditation, so he cursed Brahma that nobody will do worship you. And then he moved to Maheshwar, Shiva. He saw that Shiva was busy with Parvati, so he cursed Shiva also. Then he approached Vishnu, who was also busy with Lakshmi, but he didn't even tell anything. He just kicked him with his Bhrigumuni, with his feet on the chest of Vishnu. Instead of getting angry, Vishnu rather touched his feet, hugged his feet, and told Rishi, didn't it hurt your feet, right? Then Rishi was specified, and he gave some instruction that is related to the story of Balaji, how Balaji is Vishnu actually. So that's the story begins. So Vrigu Rishi was great, and there is a Vrigu Kamandalu, right, near source of Narmada in Madhya Pradesh. It's called Vrigu Kamandal, Amarkantak, on the top of the hills where he moved his hermitage there. And he was such a great. He is the father of Sukracharya. Great. Rishi Vashist. They were so powerful, spiritually enlightened and elevated. I was thinking I could touch their feet and get blessings.
So this Bhrigu Rishi came as hunter Jara, and he attacked Krishna because he was. Krishna wanted him to be apologizing, because he hit Lord Vishnu in his chest.
That is related to the story of Balaji. Yeah.
So these are sages from the past, but there are sages in the present. So first we have to define who is a saintly person. Saintly person means who has dedicated his life in the service of the Lord, who has surrendered to the Lord, giving up all material desires. So anybody who fits the bill at the present is also is the same rishi, like the rishis in the past. Sometimes we need to see a living example, because these are sages from the history, and we need to see somebody in our present. Like when we say there is book Bhagavad, in which all these rishis are described, and there is a person Bhagavad who is the living Bhagavad. Means when Prabhupada came, because he was such a saintly person, he created so many saintly people by his association. And there are so many saintly people like that. who are also traveling all over the world, and or they may be situated in dhams and they're doing their bhajan and like that. So there are saintly people today who are very, very advanced, and they're free from all material desires. So we have to take shelter of these people. That's where the need, for guidance, and where we can take guidance and we can take shelter and make spiritual advancement. So that is also there, So there are many, many saintly people today also who are completely dedicated to the service of the Lord. So so we can hear from them. That's sound. Sound is the cause of sky, and sky is the cause of shrotram, the ear. The ear is the first sense for receiving knowledge. So we learn everything, this is table, this is chair, because somebody is telling us. One must give oral reception to any knowledge one wants to receive, either material or spiritual. So if you want, we all learn by hearing, right? We went to classes in the university and in school, and then therefore Shrotram is very important. The Vedic knowledge is called Shruti. Knowledge has to be received by hearing. By hearing only, we can have access to either material or spiritual enjoyment. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, the only sense which can perceive the transcendence is not the eyes but the ears. So only through hearing we can understand everything and we can see properly. In the material world, we manufacture many things for our material comfort simply by hearing. They're already there, but just by hearing one can transform them. If you want to build a very high skyscraper, this does not mean that we have to create it. The materials for the skyscraper, wood, metal, earth, are already there, but we make our intimate relationship with those already created material elements by hearing how to utilize them. Modern economic, so there is civil engineering, right? Civil engineering means how to construct, how to construct a building so that it will not collapse. So we all learned about this by hearing. Modern economic advancement for creation is also a product of hearing. And similarly, one can create a favorable field of spiritual activities by hearing from the right source. And hearing from the right source will cut our misconceptions. The sadhu will cut our all the misgivings and misconceptions we have about who we are and what is the purpose of life, and it will inspire surrender to the Lord. So if we hear the right, that's how when Prabhupada, how did they surrender? So many people, they surrendered completely. By hearing from Srila Prabhupada, they surrendered their life. So Arjuna was a gross materialist in the bodily conception of life and was suffering from the bodily concept very acutely. So he was strongly in the bodily conception of life, Prabhupada is saying. But simply by hearing, Arjuna became spiritualized, a Krishna conscious person. Of course, we know also, Prabhupada writes in Introduction to Bhagavad Gita, that Arjuna was put into illusion so that Bhagavad Gita can be spoken, because he is devotee. How can a devotee be in the bodily conception of life? A devotee can't be in the bodily conception of life. So, but he was put into that illusion. But simply by hearing, Arjuna became spiritualized, a Krishna conscious person. Hearing is very important, and that hearing is produced from the sky. By hearing only, we can make proper use of that which already exists. The principle of hearing to properly utilize preconceived material is applicable to spiritual paraphernalia as well. We must hear from the proper spiritual source. And we have to do what kind of hearing? Submissive. Submissive hearing. Because our false ego blocks sometimes, when somebody speaks, then we have big false ego, or we think, I already know, right? Maharaj was saying, I already know this. It's not about knowing, It's about what you know, you have to transform it into realization. That's the thing. It's not just about knowing so many things you can know. If you just study the books so many years, you will know so many things. But it's about knowing. And there's a lecture by saying Raj Bihari Prabhu. We can hear a little bit what he says. How to whatever we hear, how to make into a realization.
So so Prabhuji, I think instead of reading translation, reciting those verses from Bhagavatam will have more impact, because those are the sages that time, Vedavas, who composed those verses, Krishna himself, Vedavas.
Yeah, but
So
because
he
we
had-
know, of course, yeah, the verse will have effect, the Sanskrit, but without understanding what the verse means, I cannot read a verse in Sanskrit and know what it means just by looking at the shloka. So we need explanation. And as Kishori Priya Mataji was saying, the words of Narottam Das Thakur and all other acharyas are as good as the Shastra. They are like also non-different. You know, this, whatever we say, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Kori Aikya, Arana Koriyo Mane Asha. So these are the words. So of course, yeah, the Sanskrit shloka is there, and by reciting that, we are reciting the words of the Krishna and the sages that is there. But to understand, that is why Prabhupada translated, because nobody knows Sanskrit and nobody can understand the meaning and the. So the great souls, they give a proper, understanding of the verses and how to, imbibe it in our life and all that. So head knowledge to heart knowledge. Head knowledge, he says, head knowledge को heart knowledge कैसे बनाए? Means how will we take it? We'll hear this later on. But how to get this knowledge from head to the heart? Yesterday, ISKCON se USKCON. Oh, we were saying like that. So ISKCON. So how to really surrender to Krishna, and how to apply all these things in our life, and how to practically, do it. So that comes from, of course, you all have all this heart knowledge, but the more deeper it goes, the more your surrender increases, and the more you become fully. Like yesterday, he was telling the story of somebody who was mad, who became mad. Like Kishori Priya Mataji was saying, right, in the morning, there on the call, she was saying how become mad after a slight revival. And she's not there. Okay, but yeah, this one becomes mad. That Hari Bol, that guy who was on the cycle, right? Hari Bol.
Correct. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. How little, he heard the name of Krishna and he went into ecstasy. And when he was driving on his cycle, he didn't care and he fell down. And he didn't. I mean, for some time he was in ecstasy. Same thing as Pondrik Vidyanidhi, when he heard that Ahobakiyam Stan Kalagutam, right? He went in. He went crazy. Went into ecstasy. He threw everything and he was crying like a madman. But these verses and the name does not have that impact on us. We don't have that bhav.
So slowly and gradually, yeah, that will come. It's a culmination of many lifetimes also. So we build our. Then we will become mad for Krishna, like the gopis were mad after Krishna. The hearing the flute of Krishna.
Yeah. And yesterday he was also talking about a madman in his village who was sitting on the mountain of plastic bottles, and he would sit as if he's, the guard for those things, like this trash, right? plastic bottles, and if anybody comes and takes one bottle, he would run after him. So he was saying that we are mad after material things, and they are like this plastic bottles, trash, insignificant. And so yeah, that's also madman. We are mad after material things, and these devotees are mad after Krishna.
So as Prabhuji was saying that, yes, we are mad about like material civilization. We are material attachment is there. And when sadhu and pure devotee comes, like a book Bhagavad and person Bhagavad, because person Bhagavad is living their life as per the Shastra, right? And the sadhu cuts the misgivings, the misconceptions about this material life. And when we get attached to hearing that and we hear more and more, then the purification does in our heart. And then just by hearing, we hear more. And we have seen whole Bhagavatam, there are many the devotees who hear from sadhus and pure devotees and how their life going to change completely. Like Prahlad Maharaj, when he was in the womb and he heard from Narad Muni and he became a Prahlad Maharaj. So, and just by hearing, not even the seeing, the Rukmani, she was like fell in love with Krishna. And so, I mean, hearing is really, that's what he says that, and for us, like the Shastra, because those who are living the life of, as per the Shastra given there, and those who give the speeches and classes and cutting the misgivings of this material life, then we can understand, we can see the difference, right? The spiritual life and the material life. And then we get more attached to hearing from them, and then we can make advancement. And also, as you said that, and what should be the attitude of hearing? Because the spiritual, Rupa Goswami is saying there, the spiritual advancement is depend on the attitude of devotee, right? Those who are practicing. So the attitude should be when we approach our spiritual master, or even we're sitting in the class, we should go with an empty cup, not in the cup filled with water, because whatever the speaker will gonna tell, if it's already filled, there will be no effect, right? It will go all out of that cup. So we should go with the in humble mood and with an empty mind, empty cup. Then we can grab something what the speaker is saying. So, like that vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, so hearing should be done like submissive, humble, ardent hearing. Prabhupada uses these words. Very focused hearing, submissive hearing. Huh?
With rapt attention, because Maharaj also said yesterday, we are dreaming all the time. There's daydream and night dream, and your mind should be in the present, because many times we are hearing one katha, but we think something else, then we miss what they said, and then you come back and say, oh, I missed what they said. Sometimes it happens to me because in my mind I'm thinking something else, right? So with rapt attention we need to hear, and Prabhupada says that we can be in rapt attention if we are pure in mind, pure in action, pure in our eating, sleeping, mating, and defending.
And whatever
Srila Prabhupada also said that if we hear with rapt attention, and then we can see the Krishna and with every piece of Bhagavatam.
Hearing also, we have to believe what what is spoken is true, right? There has to be faith in so sometimes we don't have that much faith, or if we are newcomers or like that, whatever, we are newcomers, so we may not have complete faith that whatever is being said is true, like if the pure devotee is speaking. But
yeah, he said yesterday about this mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, right, trying to cross the river.
Nice.
The river overflowed, but the daughter-in-law remembered that she heard from the class katha yesterday that holy name, by the faith in the holy name, you can cross the Bhav Sagar. So she crossed that river, but the mother-in-law drowned. And I think rather Gaur Govind Maharaj gives this example. He said,
Yeah, and then faith also develops over time. So it's not like you come on the first day and you have complete 100% faith. Yeah, it's some like you keep hearing, and then your faith increases, and then one day you say, yes, whatever you are saying is correct. And then we get some experience in our life, and also, yeah, some misery in our life, and all these things that build up our faith in the. So, faith develops, but simple person, if they just accept and keep faith, and Krishna says, I will protect you, don't worry, Krishna will protect me. So that's how we can just, like a simple child, he has faith in the words of his mother and father, so he just follows. So, because our mind is very complex, sometimes we think this and that and so many things, but just take Krishna. Prabhupada says, yes, Krishna is saying, I'll protect you, don't worry, you surrender to me. So, we should have faith. Yes, Krishna will protect me, and I will do his service, and he will take care of me. So, that faith, when that goes very deep inside the heart, then you are not worried about anything. You just say, yes, Krishna will take care of me. And then whatever happens, happens. I surrendered, Krishna said, I followed, then whatever Krishna wants to do, that's up to him. I surrendered my life to him. That's how, like Prabhupada took the risk and came to America. He just said, no, this is what I should do. I should preach Krishna consciousness. Whatever happens, happens. I will, whatever is Krishna's will, but I am doing Krishna's will, so he will take care of me. And of course, guided by his Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur telling him. So that's how, the devotees were like going everywhere and spreading Krishna consciousness. Now train stopped here, now you get down, now you start a temple here. So, Prabhupada's, okay, we'll stop here. We can read Krishna Mukul, let's see. Okay, so that Pradyumna, what happened? He got into the...
He was thrown in the ocean, then he got into the fish, then he got into the house of the same demon that had thrown him. And the kitchen was operated by this girl who was in her previous life, Rati, the wife of the Cupid. Pradyumna is the Cupid, right? From previous life. So I think that's where we were.
Correct. Just read for 10 minutes. When the cook was cutting the fish, he found within its stomach a nice baby. So the cook was there was a cook, and then when he cut open the fish, which was supposed to be cooked, because Shambara was the demon who used to eat non-vegetarian food. And then the baby was presented immediately to the charge of Mayavati, who was an assistant in kitchen affairs. This woman was surprised to see how such a nice baby could remain within the belly of a fish, and the situation perplexed her. It's unbelievable that the baby was there in the belly of a fish. The fish must have been very huge, and maybe the baby was surviving in the belly. The great sage Narada then appeared and explained to her about the birth of Pradyumna. This is also, there are many things in Shastras which are unfathomable and we cannot relate to our present experiences. And to keep faith in all these things is also sometimes challenging for many people, that how this is all happening, how this can be true. The great sage Narada then appeared and explained to her about the birth of Pradyumna and how the baby had been taken away by Shambar and later thrown into the sea. That's why people don't like to read scriptures, because they think this is fantastic descriptions. Instead, read science, which talks about reality. These are all illusory stories. They say mythological stories, right? Mythology. What will you get by reading mythological stories? Instead, read about science, which deals with reality. So like that also. The people lose, they lose faith in this, and because there is no experience of all this in our present day-to-day life. Narada then appeared and explained to her about the birth of Pradyumna and how the baby had been taken away by Shambar and later thrown into the sea. In this way, the whole story was disclosed to Mayavati. Mayavati knew that she had previously been Rati, the wife of Cupid, after her husband was burned to ashes by the wrath of Lord Shiva. She was always expecting him to come back in a material form. So Pradyumna he's not Vishnu Tattva, but he is Cupid, born as the son of Rukmini and Krishna. This woman was engaged for cooking rice and dal in the kitchen, but when she got this nice baby and understood that he was Cupid, her own husband, she naturally took charge of him. So this is her own husband coming as a baby. But when she got this nice baby and understood, she took charge and with great affection began to bathe him regularly. Miraculously, the baby swiftly grew up, so he became an adult. And within a very short period, he became a beautiful young man. His eyes were just like the petals of lotus flower. His arms were long, reaching down to his knees. Any woman who happened to see him was captivated by his bodily beauty. So this is his Cupid. Mayavati, so Maharaj was saying that we are all enchanted by Cupid in this world. So we have to worship
Madan Mohan.
Madan Mohan.
Madan Mohan. Yes. That's why he's the Sambandha deity. Because he takes our attention away from this material world and he attracts us to himself. So Radha Madan Mohan is the Sambandha deity. So as to establish Sambandh, you have to be attracted, and Krishna attracts us in this way. So we can, like we are now turned away from Krishna, like that Shvetashvatara Upanishad example. We are two birds sitting in the tree and one bird is turned away from that other bird and just eating the fruits of the tree, like that. So Bahirmukha, we become Bahirmukh to Krishna. We're looking in other direction, not towards Krishna. We're looking in the material energy and getting bewildered by this material energy. So Mayavati could understand that her former husband Cupid, born as Pradyumna, had grown into such a nice young man, and she also gradually became captivated and lusty. Smiling before him with feminine attractiveness, she expressed her desire for sexual union. He therefore inquired from her, how is it possible that you first you were affectionate like a mother and you were expressing the symptoms of a lusty woman? What is the reasons for such a change? On hearing, so Pradyumna is saying how you were treating me as your child and like a mother, and now you are exhibiting this behavior of a lusty woman. On hearing this statement from Pradyumna, the woman Rati replied, my dear sir, you are the son of Lord Krishna. Because you are 10 days old, you were stolen by the Sambara demon and later thrown into the water and swallowed by a fish. In this way, you have come under my care, but actually in your former life as Cupid, I was your wife. Therefore, my manifestation of conjugal symptoms is not at all incompatible. See, although, we have relations from past lives, so Shambara wanted to kill you and he's endowed with various mystic powers. Therefore, before he again attempts to kill you, please kill him as soon as possible with your divine power. So he was basically destined to kill. That's the reason Shambar kidnapped Pradyumna. because he was destined to kill. So now Rati is telling that before he kills you, because he knows that you are going to kill him, so he will try to kill you. Before he kills you, you kill him. Since you are stolen by Shambar, your mother Rukmini Devi has been in a very grievous condition, like a Kurari bird who has lost her babies. She is very affectionate towards you, and since you have been taken away from her, she has been living like a cow aggrieved over the loss of its calf. So even Rukmini was in distress, having lost her child. Prabhupada writes one time that Lord Ram was in distress because he was saying that how attachment, he's showing by example, right? In one purport he writes how attachments in this material world, they cause distress, like that. So he says, so even Rukmini, she is the consort of Krishna, but she is also in distress. So Mayavati had mystic knowledge of supernatural powers, because in this material world everything will be lost with time, so that will cause distress, or things will not come out exactly as you want. That will cause distress. So we have the three possibilities. We don't get what we want, we get what we want, but then it's not exactly as how we thought. And the third possibility is that even if it's nice, it will be lost any time. Dehinam shana bhangura. It is lost any time. So it also results in frustration. So the end result is frustration in this material world. And yeah, because people die, everybody will die in this world. Mayavati had mystic knowledge of supernatural powers. Okay, supernatural powers are known as Maya, and to surpass all such powers, there is another supernatural power called Mahamaya. Mayavati had the knowledge of mystic power of Mahamaya, and she delivered to Pradyumna this specific energetic power in order to defeat the mystic powers of the Shambar demon. Thus, being empowered by his wife, Pradyumna immediately went before Shambar and challenged him to fight. Pradyumna addressed him in very strong language so that his temper would be agitated and he would be moved to fight. At Pradyumna's words, the demon Shambar, being insulted, fell just as a snake feels after being struck by someone's foot. A serpent cannot tolerate being kicked by another animal or man, and it immediately bites its opponents. So he was destined to kill, so he must have killed. And Shambar felt the words of Pradyumna as if they were a kick. He immediately took his club in his hand and appeared before Pradyumna to fight. Roaring like a thundering cloud in great anger, the demon began to beat Pradyumna with his club, just as thunderbolt beats a mountain. Pradyumna protected himself with his own club and eventually struck the demon very severely. In this way, the fighting between Sambarasur and Pradyumna began in earnest. But Shambara knew the art of, okay, we'll stop here, it's almost 8:30. So ultimately there is a fight and then he will be killed, basically. So continue.